Alright, good day everyone. So this is our first series of our SPM All Out 2.0, in which I'll be sharing with you all about our SPM related topics through these 4 weekends until the end of December, so that you can have your preparation in regards to your SPM 2024 this year. So basically for our session this year, I'll just be sharing with you whatever that we may need to know by starting with our SPM 2023 statistics. As you can see here, basically our mathematics passing rate is quite low, because if we were to compare to all our 4 compulsory subjects, you can actually see the number of candidates failed in terms of the percentage is one of the highest compared to the other 3 subjects. So basically mathematics is not really hard to be achieved with the higher grades. Something that you need to remember is that most of the questions are out with a trend, which means you have to actually go through a lot of practices until you are familiar with all the questions which are being asked later. Alright, so for our session today, I'll be basically focusing on 3 topics, which include your index, standard form, as well as your number basis, right? And basically for our mathematics, I've already divided into a few teams, which you can see it over here. This is our team number 1, where we are actually talking about our number and also number system. And these 3 topics are the one that I will be sharing with you later on. For the next series, we are actually following more towards the speed and acceleration, as well as the graphs of motions, which you actually learn in Form 4, right? And for our series number 3, 2 weeks after this, we are actually following more towards the variations and also the matrices, which will also be one of the favorite topics to be asked in our SPM lah, right? And these are the few topics which I'll be also covering for the following series until the end of this December, right? For geometry and trigonometry, definitely this is something that will also be asked in your SPM, but this one I'm not really going to be emphasized, as this is comprised of quite a lot of several topics, right? You may need to understand a little bit further as you're in Form 1 to Form 3 time. This is also about your transformation geometry, and this is about statistic and probability, right? And this is the new topic which we don't really cover it before the new KSSM Semakan syllabus being introduced, which is about your consumer mathematics, right? So I'll be starting off with the index, where you actually learn in Form 3. And basically for index, is all about our power. You will need to link your laws of index, as you can see here. Anything with the same base, under multiplication or under division, you will just be adding or subtracting the power together. Anything with a power of 0 or power of negative, you will just do some changes and conversion to make it something that you can easily see and to simplify later, which we will be sharing all these later on through our tutorial questions. And the third part basically is going to be related to any power regarding to your fraction, right? Which means you have a fractional power over here, and how are you going to go about it in relating your power with a fraction and also your roots or your sets, right? So from here we can just check through some of the questions that you will see. So calculate the value of these numbers. So basically for these numbers, a few things that you can actually go through. As long as you have a power with a fraction, you need to remember this is always related to your root or your set. Okay? Anything related to your denominator, it will link to the root, which means actually this part is a root 4 and this part is actually a root 5. Right? This is first thing that you have to remember. And anything with a negative power, right? Basically you will have something 1 over. So this is a combination of several rules that you can actually remember, and you can just perform it all together, alright, at one go. So we can just continue by checking this as your root 4 of 256 multiply with 1 over root 5 of 243, right? In this case, you can just press your calculator to get your final answer. Under your root 4 of 256, you will have 4. And 1 over root 5 root 5 of 243, you actually have 3, right? You can basically just perform this together, then you can just combine your fraction as 4 over 3, and basically this is the answer, right? Under calculation part, you will have to show all these working in order for you to get your marks over this part. Alright, so for our second question, given k equals to a fraction, find the value of m. So over here, you can actually see all your index, right, are different, but you have a same base, which means your base is k, right? And in this case, basically we can just combine together and form a single fraction, or you can just form a single base after combining all your powers together, right? For anything without a power, you should know this is a power of 1. So you have a k1 equals to anything with multiplication with the same base, you are going to add together. So you have k7 plus m over 3 over k4 plus 7. Okay, you can do it slow, one part by one part first, no problem. There are several ways for you to continue on this. Either you can combine whatever is on your right, your 4 plus 7, you will get k7 plus m over 3 equals to k11. To make this easier, you can just shift your denominator over. It will become a multiplication, right? So you will have k12 equals to k7 plus m over 3, right? Once you have already gotten this, you can just perform your simple comparison. You have the same base here, which means your power is going to be the same value. So you will have your 12 equals to 7 plus m over 3, and you just do your simple shifting. You will get 5 here, and to get your m value, you have 5 multiplied by 3. 15 is your final answer. Right? So this is a part that you can actually go through. Then for your part 3, without using a scientific calculator, find the following value. So in this case, without using the calculator, this is one of the keywords. And from here, you should know if this is being asked, you will have to show your very clear working so that you can get marks from this part, right? So again, you have a negative, you should know this is a 1 over something. But before you perform on the negative side, you can actually see there's a bracket, and under this bracket you can just perform your multiplication inside the bracket first, right? So you have 81 negative 1 over 4, then you will have 4 negative 1 multiply 3 negative half over 3, right? You can do something like this. After all, you can just try to perform this part first, right? Because this is a 1 over 4, you know this is a root 4, and after rooting your 4 from your 81, you should have 3, which means this is actually 3 negative 1 multiply with 4 negative 1 multiply with 3 negative half, and from this part is actually 3 and 1 over 2, right? Then from here, you can just continue to combine all the base together. You will have 3 negative 1 plus negative half and minus a half again, because you are bringing your positive on top, right? This is a division, so you should just be performing a subtraction, right? Then over here, you have another 4 negative 1. Basically, you can just over 4. Right, you can just play around with the sign lah, right? On top, you can just continue to check. You have 3 negative 1 minus half again, you have negative 2 over 4, and basically this is a 1 over 3 square times 4, you get a negative 1 over 36, right? You can just perform this to get your final answers on that, right? And this is about your simultaneous equation. So for simultaneous equation, again, this is about your Form 1 topic. But over here, before you perform your x and y, you will have to actually synchronize your base first, right? So that you can actually equalize your power together. So in this case, this is your first equation. You can actually see this is a 4x plus 2 to the power of y equals to 27. Right? This is a multiplication. So before you continue on the following working, you should know 4 and 2, you can synchronize the base to base 2, and this is a 2 squared, so that you can get a 4. You have an x here, you just put it here, multiply 2y equals to 27. Once you have your base in full 2, base 2, you can perform addition. So this is 2x plus y equals to 7, where you will get your first equation, right? For the second one, same thing as well. This is a base 3. Over here you have 1 over. You can just do some basic shifting. You will get a negative y equals to, this is a power half, right? Because this is a root. So again, as long as you can get a base with the same number, you can just perform your simplification on your power. So over here you have x minus y equals to half, right? And from here you can just start by checking your simultaneous equation. You can just form any equations into equation 1 and equation 2. So this, you can just do your shifting. Y equals to 7 minus 2x. You have equation 1. You can just put this as equation 2, right? So that you can substitute your 1 into 2, then check your x value or your y value, right? So you can substitute your equation 1 into your 2. So to get your equation 2 done, you need to recopy your equation 2 first. So x minus y equals to half. Your y basically is 7 minus 2x. So x minus bracket 7 minus 2x equals to half, right? Bear in mind that over here you have to put in your bracket, because this is a negative sign, right? Basically negative sign, it will impact whatever is at the back, right? So after putting your bracket, you have x minus 7 plus 2x equals to half. Then from here you should know you have 3x, then this is half plus 7, you get a 15 over 2, right? Then to get your x value, you just put your 15 over 2 divided by 3, then you do your simplification again, right? You will get 5 over 2 as the answer in this case, right? Once you have already found your x equals to 5 over 2, you just substitute your x equals to 5 over 2 back into your equation 1, right? So your equation 1 is y equals to 7 minus 2x, and you substitute again your x as 5 over 2 into the equation, right? So after cutting, after simplifying your 2, you will get 7 minus 5, and your answer is 2, right? Then lastly, don't forget to put your x equals to 5 over 2, y equals to 2 as your conclusion. Okay, so this is your basic index that you should remember by now, right? Before moving on. Right, so this is the second part which we will be sharing today, is about your standard form. So before moving on to standard form, you should know what is your significant figure, right? Under here, there are actually 4 rules that you need to remember. 2 are related to your whole numbers. Another 2 basically are related to your decimals, right? So for whole number, non-zero digits are all significant. For example, you have 2000 plus, 300 plus, and 9000 plus. All these numbers are related to your significance, right? The second whole number related question is about your hamburger. So you just need to remember anything where your numbers, where your 0 is in between 2 non-numbers or 2 non-zero digits, basically everything is also significant. In this case, you can actually see all the zeros are stuck between the non-zero numbers. So in this case, you have to consider everything as significant as well, right? Related to your decimals, as long as the decimal is equal to 1 or more than 1, you should have everything as significant, right? Anything with lesser than 1, which means you are starting from 0 point something, you will only consider the significance after checking on the first non-zero digits. Right, so these are the few things that you have to remember, because sometimes in your paper 2, the question may ask you to convert your numbers into standard form, or maybe they will ask you to round off to certain significant figures. Right, so in this case, it's quite important for you to actually understand this, so that all those minor marks you won't be deducted. Right, so let's check on some basic revisions on the rounding off part. So in order for us to check on the rounding off part to your nearest significant figures, again, we will always compare between our whole numbers part and also the decimal parts, right? For first part, you need to round off to one significant figure based on this number, right? You have 40,088. So one significant figure, it means I can only see any non-zero number with one digit left, right? In this case, you can just leave with your 4, which means after 4, I need to check whether this following number needs to be rounded off or not, right? Since my 0 is lesser than 4, I will remain my 4 as my answer, because I'm not going to round off it to become 5, right? The second part is something that we will miss most of the time. This is a 40,000, right? You have a 5-digit value. So make sure as you are putting back in your answer, you need to put in back all your zeros so that you can actually see your 40,000 is very near to your 40,088, right? This is something called rounding off based on the significant figures, right? Because most of the time, people tend to be like, oh, one significant figure, I just leave with 4, then that's it, right? Which is wrong. So you need to always compare the exact value. In this case, your exact value is 40088, 40,088. And after rounding off, you should get something quite similar to your original, which is 40,000. Alright, so moving on to our second example, also quite similar. I need to round off to 2 significant figures, which means over here, 40 is something that I need to leave. But before I leave, I need to check whether the following number needs to be rounded off. In this case, you have a 9. 9 basically is more than 4, which means over here you need to plus 1. Right? So from 40 plus 1, you get a 41. And again, you have to ask yourself, this is 4,000 plus. So that's not possible for you to get your answer as 41. You should put another 0 back so that you have 4,000 plus, and the nearest after rounding off to 2 significant is 4,100. Right? Moving on to the following questions, same idea. This one, after cutting, you will have 5 and 2. 2 is something that you are not supposed to round off because it's lesser than 4. So you will put as 905. And because this is 9,000 plus, remember to slot in one more 0. Okay? And the following one, basically, you can just try to check again. This is a 4 significant. So you should have 7, 4, 5, 6, 0, 0. Because your 2 is not going to be rounding off. Right? Moving on, the following ideas are about your decimals. So again, decimals, there are 2 parts. One is more than 1 or equals to 1. Another one is lesser than 1. Right? So anything with lesser than 1, I will need to check only after seeing the first non-zero digit. So in this case, my 1 significant is somewhere here. Because I have 0.1, 1 is already considered a significant. And same idea I'll apply here. This is 8, right? This is 8. I have to plus 1 because it is more than 4 already. So 0.1 plus 1, I'll get a 0.2. And this is a case where, again, people will tend to be confused whether or not you want to put 0.200 or 0.2. So again, anything after decimal with a non-zero digit is considered significant. So if you were to put another 20 here, this is no longer a 1 significant figure. This is a 3 significant figures, right? So under decimals, remember, as long as you have already rounded off, for decimals which are less than 1, don't ever add in any more zeros, right, to fulfill your significant figures here. So the answer for this part should be only left with 0.2. Right? So for the next one, this is your 2 significant figures. So again, 2 significant figures you are going to cut here. 9 is something that you will add because it is more than 4. So plus 1. Everything you just copy 0.0003 7. And again, after 7, you shouldn't add any more 0, because this is already two significant figures. Alright? So for your the following examples, this is about your decimal as well. So for decimals, 19.88, you have one significant figure. Okay, so this is something quite interesting comparing to these two parts. Alright, so one significant figure, again, after seeing the first non-zero, because this is a decimal more than 1, you can just cut. And since this is a 9, I will have to plus 1, so that you can get a 2. Okay, and this case is, again, we need to check if you need to add a 0 or not, right? If this is a one significant figure. So the answer for this is a yes. You need to put a 0 to make it a 20. So reason being is still the same. You will ask yourself, this is 19 point something. If I never put a 0 behind, it will become a 2. So 19 and 2 basically is a huge difference. This is not something called rounding off, right? So to make it very, very similar to 19.88, after rounding off to one significant figure, you will have 20 as the answer, right? So the next one is also the same. You have two significant figures, 8.031. You can cut over here. 3 is something that you are not supposed to round off, so this is 8.0, and that's it, right? Then the next one is 3 significant figure. Again, you are going to cut here. This is something that you are not going to add in, so 96.0, that's it, right? So the next one, it's 4 significant figures. You have 700 plus, and from here, 4 significant is here. You can just cut it, and again, this is something that you need to add in, and this is quite interesting as well, because you can actually see the 9 after adding 1, you will keep on rounding off, or you'll keep on adding 1 because of the 769.9, right? So in this case, you will have 770, and again, over here, you need to add in 0.0 to fulfill the 4 significant rule, right? Then continue with 3 significant figures under decimals. This is here. 9, you need to add in 1. You will get a 0.0479. Okay, and lastly, this is also to round off to your 4 significant. This one you need to add 1. You will get a 0.01005 as your answer. Right, so this is about your significant figures lah over here, right? And from here, we will just be checking on your standard form. So standard form, you have to remember the general idea. It is actually in between 1 or equals to 1, but it cannot exceed 10, right, for the first number. And basically, your standard form, it will always be in a base of 10 to the power of something, right? Then in this case, you will just need to remember your addition, subtraction. Basically, these two are in one rule. Multiplication and division, these are in another groups or another category, right? And from this, later we will just check what needs to be done over here. So this is your standard form related question on your problem solving part, right? So the total land area of Singapore is this much. State the land area of the country in the standard form and correct to 3 significant figures. In this case, you are having 2 different parts to be combined together. One is to change it to standard form. Another one is to correct to 3 significant figures, right? So to change it to standard form, you can basically just put a dot, right? So 728600000 square meter. Once you already put your dot, you should be noted that your dot must be put over here, because your number shouldn't exceed 10, and it has to be in between 1 and not more than 10, right? So in this case, you can just basically check how many decimals you are actually shifting. So you are shifting actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. right? You are shifting 8 decimal places to the front. So from here, you will actually get 7.286 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 8 square meter, right? And something for you to remember, the smaller the number here, you will keep increasing your power behind. So this is a balance rule that you need to remember, right? The lower the number it is, the higher the power for the base 10 number. Okay, and in this case, we are not done with the final questions because the question is asking us to correct to 3 significant figures. So in order for you to correct to 3 significant figures, again, you have to check, right? Under your decimals, this is 7.28. You are just going to cut here and recheck this number, right? Since this number is 6, it is more than 4, you need to plus 1. So your final answer should be 7.29. And don't forget to put in your standard form. And this is your 3 significant figures. Right? So moving on to the next part, this is about some basic addition and subtraction of your standard form. So as I said earlier, for standard form under addition and subtraction, they are belong to one same family. So the family rule is only one. You have to standardize, okay, standardize the power, which means the base 10 power, you need to standardize it, right? So how are we going to standardize it? Normally, we will change the smaller base to a bigger base, right? Because as we are changing a smaller base to a bigger base, my number will become smaller. Reason for me to let my numbers to become smaller is because I want to try fulfilling the standard form method or standard form pattern, right? Which means basically my number is going to be in between 1 and 10. But it doesn't matter if you want to change it smaller number to bigger number or bigger number to smaller number. Basically, it works for both ideas, right? So for this, first, you can actually check 2.67 times 10 to the power 7 minus 5.64 times 10 to the power 6. So first rule, you have not achieved because this is a power 7 and power 6 thing. So to make this clear, you can just times 10 7 minus 5.64 times 10 to the power 6, right? First rule to standardize the power, again, normally we will try to standardize the smaller power to become a bigger power. So this is your smaller power. In order for me to achieve, right, 10 to the power 7, I need to increase my power by 1, plus 1 here, right? So to make everything balanced, as I said earlier, as long as you are increasing your power, you will need to reduce your number value. So if you are adding 1 here, you are actually reducing your decimal place to front by 1 place, right? So you will have 2.67 times 10 7 minus 0.564 times 10 7. This is something that you can remember, okay? And over here, you can just press your calculator, 2.67 minus 0.564, you get 2.106. Then just copy back your base. And this is basically your answer. Alright, so from here, you can just continue to your part 2. Part 2 is about addition. So you will have you're actually having different power as well in this case, right? So for part 2, you have 3.46 times 10 negative 8 plus 8.42 times 10 to the power of negative 9, right? So again, in this case, which one you want to change, it depends on you, right? But normally for our case, we will change the smaller power to bigger one. So in this case, this is a negative power. So under negative power, you should have this as smaller number or smaller power, right? To make your negative 9 to become negative 8, again, you have to plus 1. As you are adding 1 at your power, you are reducing your decimal place again. So you should have 3.46 times 10 negative 8 plus 0.842 times 10 negative 8. Right? Then from here, again, use your calculator, 3.46 plus 0.842. You have 4.302, then copy back your standard form. So this is your final answer for your addition in part 2. Right? Calculate this value and give the answer in standard form. So this is about your division, because you can see this is a fraction, right? So under division, this is quite simple. You will just be dividing the number first, which means you will be dividing this number with this number, and for the base, you can just perform your basic subtraction, because this is a division. Under division rule, you will just subtract the base together, right? So you can just put something like this, 2.74 over 4 times 10, 9 minus 3. Okay, you can just do like this. And again, 2.74 divided by 4, you can press your calculator. You will get 0.685 times 10 to the power 6. Right? Seems like everything is fine, but over here, again, you are not done yet, because your 0.685, this is not your standard form. So to change your standard form, we will invert the rule that we mentioned earlier, right? You want to increase your number so that it will become 6.8 something. So if you are increasing your number to balance everything, you will have to decrease your base 10 power, right? So you will have 6.85 times 10 to the power 5, right? This is a rule for you to actually balance up your power and also your number itself, right? So this is the part that you can remember. Then from here, we can just check. Okay, this is also your standard form, but it's more towards your problem solving parts lah, right? So for problem solving parts, let's look together what is this about. An electronic factory produces this amount of chips in 1 minute. If the factory operates 12 hours a day, calculate the total number of chips produced in a day. So this is just a basic multiplication that you can perform. Okay, this is a production in 1 minute. You're operating 12 hours a day. Then you need to calculate a day production, right? What is the total production in a day? So 12 hours, change it to minutes. You will just need to multiply by 60, right? So 12 hours, you will have 12 times 60, you get a 720 minutes. So you can just multiply together, right? So total production equals to 4.5 times 10, 3 times 720. You can just multiply 720 straight away. Then use your number to multiply with your number, right? You don't need to change your 720 to a standard form first. It's also okay, right? You just use your calculator, 4.5 times 720, which will get you 3240 times 10, 3. Okay? Then at this moment, only you check again which one to actually shift, right? 3002, you need to shift your decimal because you need to put it in standard form. So 1, 2, 3, you are reducing your power by 3. So your base number should be increased, right? So from 3000 to 3.24, the number becomes smaller. So your power has to increase, right? Increase by how much? You are shifting 3 places. So this is added by 3. You'll get 10 to about 6, right? Then next, a metal sphere with a radius of 7.5 cm is melted to make ball bearings with a radius of 1.5 mm. Find the number of ball bearings produced in standard form. Okay, so in this case, basically you can do some basic shifting or basic conversion first, right? Under cm and mm. So you have a metal sphere with a radius of 7.5 cm. This is a sphere, for example. You have a radius of 7.5 cm. Then you need to make ball bearings with a radius of 1.5. Okay, this is a smaller ball bearings with 1.5 mm. Find the number of ball bearings produced. And this one, you need to link something back to your volume, right? Because this is a metal sphere. Sphere is a 3D shape. So the volume of sphere basically is 4 over 3 pi r cubed. This is also 4 over 3 pi r cubed, right? And in order for you to find the total number of your ball bearings to be produced, you can just perform a simple division, right? Use your bigger numbers to divide smaller number, and the final answer basically is the answer that you want, right? So volume of your sphere, you can just use 4 over 3 pi. Your R is 7.5. So you can just put 7.5 cube first, right? If you are not sure about this, or if you want to standardize everything together, you can just put 75 mm instead of 7.5 cm, because you are trying to standardize the unit together, right? So 1 cm equals to 10 mm, you are multiplying by 10 with 7.5, and that is how you get 75 as your answer in this case, right? So use your 4 over 3 multiply with 75 cube, you will get 562,500 pi. Right? In this case, it's okay for you to leave your pi as the answer first, because no matter how, you will still cut away your pi later on. Alright? So your volume of your ball bearings, this is also the same. I have 4 over 3 times pi. Your R is 1.5 cube. Okay? So 4 over 3 times 1.5 cube, you have a 4.5 pi. Okay? And in this case, you will just, again, do your divisions lah, right? Total number of ball bearings, you will use 562,500 pi over 4.5 pi. So 562,500 divided by 4.5, you will get 125,000, which means this is the total amount that you will produce, right, after melting your metal sphere. And from this, you need to put in standard form. Again, standard form, you need to have something multiplied with 10 to the power of. So you have something like this. From your 125,000, you need to change it to 1.25, because there's a number rule that you need to follow, right? So this is your 1.25, and from 125,000 to make it 1.25, you need to shift 5 decimal places. So this is your 5. Again, because number becomes smaller, your power has to increase, right? We will just be following all these rules together, then you will get the final answer lah, no matter how, right? And moving on, this is the basically this is the third part that we are going to cover today. This is about your number bases, alright? So number base, these 3 terms are the terms that you have to remember before performing anything, right? Basically, for your number bases, most of the questions will be out in your paper 1, right? Paper 2, maybe yes, maybe no, but not a favorite question to be asked, but yes for paper 1, right? So place value, you will check from your right to your left, following your base number. So in this case, if this is the example, right, 26543 base 8, your place value for every single number is 80, 81, 82, 83, 84. This is the place value. Alright, place value will always be started from the base, from your right to your left, starting with 0 numbers, 0 digit. This is your place value. Right? For your digit value is the multiplication of the digit itself with the place value. For example, in this case, after multiplying your 80 times 3, you will get 3. Correct? Because 8 base 0, 8 to the power of 0, you get 1, 1 times 3, you get 3. And following with the other numbers, you will have 8 times 4, 32. Then this is 8 times 8 times 5, you get 320. 8 times 8 times 8 times 6, you get 3072. And lastly, you have 8 to the power of 4 times 2, you get 8192. Right? These are called digit values for each number, which means actually for place value and digit value, the question will ask you very specifically on which digit that they are requiring you to actually look for, right? For number values is the addition of all the digit values that you have actually looked for, right? So in this case, you have 8001 plus 3072 plus 320 plus 32 plus 3. You have 11619. This is the number value for this number in base 8. Right? So again, for place value, it is actually starting from right to left, following 0, 1, and so on. And the big number will follow your base number. In this case, it's base 8. Right? Digit value is a multiplication of your place value with the digit that they are requiring you to find. And the number value is basically the total or the sum of your digit value. Right? And number value will always be in terms of base 10. You need to remember. And this is our general number that we use, right, in this case. Okay, so from here, you can just check on the following problem solving part. So given this is the number, find the value of p in base 10. Okay, so what else can we check? We can basically do some shifting. In order for you to find your base p value, you can shift this first. 4 squared basically is 16. You can add these two numbers together first. This is a base 2 number, right? You can combine together, then change it to base 10, then you just minus 16, and that's it. That you can get your number, right? So 10110 base 2 plus 1011 base 2. So under base 2, any number that exceeds by 2, you will need to round off, right? So 0 plus 1, you get 1. 1 plus 1 equals to 2. Since this is a base 2, you need to round off and put it at 0 here, right? 1 plus 1, again, you have a 2. 2, you need to round off. You put a 0. This is also the same, and this will be the same as well. Okay? This is your base 2 number. And from base 2, for you to change to base 10, you are just looking for the number value of this, right? So to find your number value, 100001 base 2. So starting from your right to your left, this is your 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. This is your 25, right? So you can actually know 25 is equal to 32. Yes. So this is a 32 plus 1 equals to 33 base 10, right? The middle part, everything is about 0 because you are multiplying some numbers with 0. Okay, so you have 33 equals to 16 plus p. Your p, you just do your subtraction, and 17 is the answer, right? The next, a luggage bag is priced at 1400 base 7. How much will it cost after discount of this much? Give your answer in base 10. So this one, you can just perform your conversion from base 7 and base 3 to base 10. Then you just compare the answer lah. Okay, how much will it cost after discount? So this is a subtraction because you are doing some discount from this pricing, right? So 1400 base 7, you can start by changing it to base 10 first, right? This is 1400 base 7. So to start off everything, you will need to make sure your base is 7 so that you can find your number value properly, right? This is your 70 up to 73, right? So you have 73 times 1, 72 times 4. This is an addition, addition. 71 times 0, 70 times 0. Okay, so this is a general idea for you to perform to find your number value, right? So 777, you get a 343 plus 774, 196, and again the back one basically is 0 and 0, right? Because you are multiplying with 0. So 196 plus 343, you get a 539. This is 539 in base 10 because you are looking for number value, right? How much will it cost after a discount of 1100? So this one you need to change again to base 10. So 11000 base 3, you will get 30, 31, 32, 33, 34. So 34 times 1 plus 33 times 1. and behind basically is your 0 lah, right? So 3, 3, 3, 3. This is your 81 plus 27. You will get 108 base 10. Okay, and how much will it cost after this discount? So your cost after discount, you will just use 539 minus 108. Then you can get your answer, right? 39 minus 108, 431. So 431 in base 10 is your answer. Right? Then next, this is also about your number base. So the table shows the score obtained by Ahmad in a game. You have your first round, second round, and third round. So given that the score for the first round is equal to 17 base 10, find the value of M. So 17 base 10 is the number in base 10 for first round. And basically 17 base 10 and 1M001 base 2, these two values are the same, have the same value. You can just perform your base 10 to base 2. Right? So anything from changing base 10 to any other number base, you need to perform repeated division. Right? Which means in order for you to change into base 2 now, you will just use 17 to divide by 2 until you get your final answer as 0. Right? So for part A, to get your 17 divided by 2, you will have 8 here, and you have remainder 1. Right? 2, 4, remainder 0, 2, 2, remainder 0, 2, 2, 1, remainder 0, and 2, remainder 1. Right? This is your basic conversion in changing your base 10 number to any number. Right? And your final answer, you should look from the bottom to top. So 17 base 10 is equal to 10001 base 2. And comparing to this, you should know your M equals to 0. Okay, your M equals to 0. And convert the score for the second round to a number in base 8. So 32, 32 base 5, you change to base 8. This one you have to perform, changing it to base 10 first. Then from base 10, change to base 8. Right? So 32 base 5, 32 base 5, 32 base 5. In order for you to change to base 10, again, you need to find the number value, right? So this is 51 times 3 plus 50 times 2. So you get 15 plus 2, you get 17 base 10. And again, 17 base 10, you need to change to base 8. So divide by 8, right? So 17 over 8, 2, you get remainder 1, 8, remainder 2, look from bottom. So this is 2, 1, base 8. Right? So this is for your B. Right? Then calculate the difference of score in between the second round and the third round in base 8. So second round, as we have already found, is 21 base 8. Third round is 22 base 8. You need to find the difference in score. So this is your simple subtraction. You just use 22 or 22 base 8 minus 21 base 8. Then this is the answer. Right, so this is your number base. And basically that's it for whatever that we cover today. Right, so for today we actually covered 3 main topics. The first topic is about your index, then followed by your standard form. Under standard form, we actually covered about our significant figure as well, right? And the third one, this is our number base. Okay, so for this one, basically I've already prepared a set of your real SPM past year question as well. So this is a QR code that you can actually scan and you can obtain. And from here, we will just I'll be preparing another video for you to actually explain question by questions based on the question that I've prepared over here, right? And from this is actually a common group under Telegram for us to actually share the knowledge and also our recordings in the past videos and the following ones lah, right? So you can just take note on these two. And for our next series, which will happen next week, we are going to be sharing about our coordinates, gradients, and straight lines. This is one of the compulsory questions or one of the favorite questions that you will face definitely in your SPM paper 2, and also your speed and acceleration, as well as your graphs of motion, right? This is also something quite popular to ask, and most of the time it also is going to be in your paper 2, right? So for next week, these two are our main concerns and also our main discussions lah, right, for our next series. So I think that's it for our session today, and I will see you next week.